time it is?
Oh no!
We gotta go film.
We gotta go film!
Well, hello there.
Hello, I am here with my lovely co-host, Mia Gomez, a VW bus enthusiast.
Oh yes, that is true indeed. And I am here with my co-host, fellow movie buff, and resident weirdo, as what it says, Lana Bradley.
And we are here to review some movies with all of you.
So, one of the movies we're going to be talking about is Malcom X.
And the other one is Glory. We'll first start with Glory. Glory is a 1989 film, directed by Edward Zwick, and based on the letters of Robert Goudshaw. The actors in this movie would include Matthew Broderick, who plays Colonel Shaw, Denzel Washington, who plays Private Tripp, and Morgan Freeman, who is the Sergeant Major John Rallis. I think that Glory was a great representation of the Civil War's view on the meaning of freedom, but also the realities of the Civil War.
Thank you, Lana. And Malcom X was produced in November of 1992. It was directed by Spike Lee. The major characters were Denzel Washington, who played Malcom X, Spike Lee, who was his best friend in the movie, and Al Freeman Jr., one of the screenwriters, was the character Elijah Muhammad. This movie presents an amazing representation, but growing up as a black person might have been like during the Civil Rights movement.
For Glory, the movie starts with, well, after surviving the battlefield, Robert Goudshaw, who is played by Matthew Broderick, is promoted to be in charge of one of the first all African-American regiments in the American Civil War. At first he's coarse and hard on the men. He finds compassion for the men and fights for their fair treatment. Although the volunteer soldiers longed for action, they were not given it at first. But with persistence, they saw their first battle. So, did you expect it to end in such a tragic, heartbreaking story?
I can tell you right now, Lana, I did not. I was utterly shocked and heartbroken and surprised when I saw not just the extra men in the back who were dying, but Colonel Shaw himself falling to the ground.
Oh, and that part when Tripp took up his flag. Yeah, it wasn't just Shaw, who at the beginning was like, as I said, hard and coarse, and then softened up. It was all of them, like fighting for a cause that they're united in, and that's good.
If you men will take no pay, then none of us will.
Well, what did you think about the more technical side of the movie Glory, the production part of it, and all of that? What are your thoughts on that?
I thought they did a fabulous job in all things like cinematography, like costumes. Acting was phenomenal because we had some big names in there too. And I think they did a great job. Would you recommend this movie?
I liked the film. I would recommend the film. I think it was inspiring. I think it was also historically significant and accurate, and informative.
Yeah, I would agree. I think inspiring. And it did show another side of the Civil War that I never read about. I took a Civil War class. I never heard about this before, actually. It's time for us to give the thumbs up or thumbs down for it. All right.
I'm sure you guys are on the edge of your seats.
Yep. Right, 1, 2, 3. Yes! Okay, yay!
Yeah. So now moving over to Malcom X. Quick overview of it or plot summary. So Malcom X is who we all know him to be. It's who he ends up being in the movie. But in his childhood years and in his formative years, he was referred to as Malcolm Little. And so I think that's very important to include in our knowledge here. He grew up in an orphanage, raising himself most of his life, so it feeds into directly to the life that he ends up living. He hits rock bottom. He has this revelation by a friend and is introduced to the religion of Islam. And that is where the majority of his activism is based out of. And he ends up pushing and pursuing black nationalism for the bulk of this movie. But once he makes his pilgrimage to Mecca, he begins to see that everything he's been taught about complete separation between the two races is not the answer that they have made it to be. So here's that clip right now.
You may be shocked by these words, but I have eaten from the same plate, drunk from the same glass, and prayed to the same God with fellow Muslims whose eyes were blue, whose hair was blonde, and whose skin was the whitest of white.
He is able to see that we are all human, so living in community with one another is in fact possible and encouraged. Did you find anything extra symbolic in the movie?
I found a particular one in the hair. At the beginning of the movie starts actually with Malcom X, Malcolm Little at the time, like getting his hair like permed and straightened. He kept doing that for a long time, all the way up till halfway through in prison. And he doesn't want to conform to like the beauty norms of the community and time and the culture. And it's more of himself as himself kind of thing.
People only did that because they didn't want to associate with being black. They wanted to be more of a white person than be associated.
Yeah. What major themes did you find?
The overarching, very general one I would say would be resilience, perseverance, how your past doesn't have to define you. It can if you let it, but it doesn't have to. Another theme or takeaway I would say would be putting our faith in humanity will always fail. The entire nation of Islam was built on the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
I love the quotations. Because I did that too in my notes.
Yeah, and like it was scary because every time like Malcolm X would talk or something, he would start with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, Muhammad, everyone that teaches
His picture was everywhere.
Yes,
It was like in the background. I was
his
like,
picture was in Malcolm's house.
his house.
Framed in his
framed.
house.
Prized possession.
So the Nation of Islam loved him and supported him when he was doing them good, but when he started thinking for himself and when he wasn't necessarily directly benefiting them, actually he ended.
Spoiler alert.
Finish that sentence, but you know, in the end they didn't care about him, so to speak. It was more so what he was offering them. So
Yeah, but you also see the shift in like family structure. There's one scene where he's at home and him and his wife are arguing because she's like, "You're never around. You only care about your religion. What about us? What about what this is all built on?" And this is before he really realized, oh, maybe I shouldn't be following like blindly in this religion.
So, did you have any comments on cinematography or
Well, you know, I do. At
I
times.
assume so.
Oh. Yeah, this is kind of required. I think they did a great job in cinematography and the incorporating of different mediums. Sometimes there was narration from Malcom, sometimes it was videos, sometimes it was like old videotapes, and
Yes.
and like there was integration of like Martin Luther King Jr. in it, and it mixed so many mediums.
And even at the end, it showed the actual Malcolm X too, and
Right.
that was a very good touch.
Yeah.
Super amazing.
Yeah, and people like his influence. Did you find anything good in the way it was done?
Because it was behind the scenes, like the world doesn't see him the way that this movie portrays.
Right.
And so I think it was very cool to have more than accurate representation. Because like throughout school, like I didn't really have much of an education on Malcolm X.
Neither did
So,
I.
right.
Yeah. He did a great job of kind of getting more inside his head.
And I love how they moved like from birth basically to death. Like they did that very well.
Yeah.
So
It wasn't like he became so much more loving. He just kind of became more sturdy on the rules.
yeah, when he would preach and stuff, he said like, "I love you guys, and this is what I'm telling you," but you wouldn't see love through his actions.
Right. Now to finally wrap up. Finally. It's been a long day, guys.
What did you think?
You know, I actually have mixed feelings about Malcolm X. I think it was a really...
Controversial.
Oh, yeah. No, just a little. I think it was a really, really well done movie. But, I mean, not all of Malcolm X's, like, extremist actions I agree with personally. So, it's like, sometimes I don't. But... I think it was a wonderfully done movie. I've been on a roller coaster between loving it and not loving it. Like, it was produced well, acted well, cast well, cinematography's great, and I actually would recommend it. If I don't like a movie, I don't say that I wouldn't recommend it. Because I think that there's good in seeing movies that you might not fully agree with to get a different point of view. What do you think? And would you recommend it?
I feel like we're kind of in the same boat, Lana.
Yeah.
I like to be controversial like that.
Don't we all?
Cheers to that, am I right?
Yeah.
I'm hesitant to say I love it because kind of the same thing. It was also just eye-opening as well because it's not like they portrayed the Nation of Islam as positive in the end.
Right.
So I think that was very interesting and very good, yeah, because I mean,
Difference between the Nation of Islam.
yeah, I would say the end is my favorite when he realizes that.
Agreed.
You'll see.
Yeah, you'll see if you watch the movie.
Yeah.
So would you recommend it for them to watch?
Well, I don't know, let's do a thumbs up.
All right.
Thumbs up or down on
3. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would recommend it.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
And that's probably about all the education you're going to get on Malcolm X. So, of course, unless you do your own research, but
Yeah.
I'm not getting on the school system.
So is that all, Mia?
I think so, Lana.
All right. Happy watching to all you people out there.
And good night.
History 2943.
And cheers
Cheers
out.
out.